Welcome into the Cowboys Report. I am host Tom Downey. We have a preview of tonight's matchup, the Cowboys against the Seattle Seahawks, on tap for you guys today. Seattle on the road, Cowboys at home for the first time in the preseason, and thankfully, not a super late game. I mean, there was a 10 p.m. Eastern kick last week. This time, 7 p.m. Eastern, a much more palatable time frame for a kickoff for a game that doesn't really matter all that much. But just like the first two Cowboys preseason games and every regular season game, we will be live for it with one of our patented watch parties. We have a great time. We're drinking, having fun, breaking down the game as it happens. It's a lot better play-by-play wise than the homers you got on some of the out-of-network streams. We've got you guys covered right here on the Cowboys Report. If you haven't already and you want the best watch party possible, hit that big red button and subscribe right here, youtube.com/Cowboys TV. Seattle is on the road, like I mentioned, first preseason game, and they have lost their first two against the Pittsburgh Steelers, against the Chicago Bears. The offense has not looked particularly great, even though they've been giving some notable reps to key players. Dallas, meanwhile, finally coming off a preseason win for what the first time it feels like forever almost. They took down the Chargers, due in no small part to 2 return touchdowns by Kevontae Turpin, who I'm not sure we'll see that much of in this game. The Cowboys' plan, the expectation is that they will sit their key players once again. I would be stunned if you saw Dak Prescott, Zeke Elliott. Maybe you see him at most for a drive or two, but the Cowboys had 2 joint practices. Their goal is to keep their key guys fresh and healthy for the games that actually matter. I think you'll see Jalen Tolbert, maybe a defensive starter with some uncertainty around Jordan Lewis, but it's going to be the backups once again. Seattle, meanwhile, with uncertainty as to who they will start at quarterback leading up to just a few days ago, they're going to start Geno Smith, not Drew Lock. Lock was supposed to start week 2 of the preseason, caught COVID, missed it. Geno starts again. I think a pretty clear sign is going to be that team's week 1 starter. Then Drew Lock's going to play a ton in the preseason. Seattle will get to use some more of their key players, I expect. The quarterbacks will be the focal point for Seattle. Tank Commanders, Geno Smith and Drew Lock out there week 3 of the preseason. So with that in mind, and we're going to break down some 5 things to watch for on the Cowboys side. Who you got in this one? C for the Cowboys, S for the Seattle Seahawks. This is the pinned comment on today's video. So if you get the ad break on YouTube, cool. Take advantage of it. Head down there, type in your C or your S. All right, first thing that I'm watching for, God, we're starting with kickers. That pains me dearly. But it is Brett Maher, because the Cowboys released Liram Hajrullahu as part of the 85 to 80-man roster cut-down time frame, leaving Maher as the only kicker left on the Cowboys roster. So, unlike last week, I would like the Cowboys to give him chances to kick extra points and field goals. Why they went for 2, I will never understand. There is no logical explanation for why that actually made sense. I hated that decision. Nonetheless, here we are. So I'm curious how Maher fares with fingers, crossed and other things clenched when it comes to the kicking situation for the Cowboys. Now, if you want to bet on this game or all kinds of prop bets from exact wins, over-under wins, Super Bowl odds, NFC East odds, you name it, BetUS has you covered. Chatsports.com/bet. Promo code is Cowboys125. $100 down, minimum deposit. Gets you a 125% deposit bonus. In the past, the Cowboys hit the first 2 games, 3-point underdog and then balloons to 5 or so before kickoff. Not the case in this one. Seattle is a 7-point favorite in week 3 of the preseason. I know it's because they're going to play Lock and Smith and some of their key guys. Dallas is not. 7 feels like a lot for a meaningless preseason game when it's not like their quarterbacks are any good either. I have always bet against the Cowboys in the preseason. Not so sure about that one. That line might grow. If it does, might be a little hour before kickoff, throw some money on the Cowboys to cover a 7-point spread. All right, next up, Cooper Rush and Will Grier. The backup quarterback battle is, I still think, favoring Cooper Rush, which I don't love. On my roster projection, I kept Rush and Grier, which I didn't feel confident doing. I think you get one of the practice squad, but you could also get your UDFAs down there fairly easily as well. Rush and Grier are both going to play. Sounds like the plan, I think, is maybe Rush to start again. We'll find out. Grier's been nursing that groin injury, kind of limits him, I think, a little bit. I think Ben DiNucci is clearly behind Rush and Grier, though I thought he had his best game ever in week 1 of the preseason. There's stats on screen there in the so far in the first 2 games, but Grier has more talent. He can throw it downfield. He can attack the defenses in a way that Cooper Rush simply cannot. So pick a backup QB for me. Will Grier, more upside, or Cooper Rush, the one the teams like more, and of course beat the Vikings last year. Let me know who you would rather have as QB2 in the comments section. Let's move to wide receiver 2? 3? I don't know. Jalen Tolbert has had moments in the preseason to make big plays and hasn't always delivered. The play you see behind the stats, didn't get his foot in bounds. Should have been a touchdown. Didn't have great awareness of the field. Didn't have the toe drag swag. Had a drop already once in the preseason. Tolbert should play, and I know that catching passes from Dak Prescott will unquestionably make him look better. But I would also like to see a scenario in which the Cowboys were able to have Tolbert make big plays and kind of elevate the other quarterbacks behind him. We've seen Fehoko have a touchdown catch. Brandon Smith's made some deep passes. TJ Vasher's been kind of quiet, but those guys haven't played snaps in the NFL. Neither is Tolbert, but the Cowboys are banking on him to be receiver 2 or 3 for, if not the entire year, at least the beginning of the year when Gallup and James Washington are not healthy. So I need more out of Jalen Tolbert. I want to see some splash plays that we haven't really seen yet, despite a lot of targets in the preseason. Earlier I asked you who you got. Now give me your score predictions. Predict the score for me of this Week 3 NFL preseason matchup. Cowboys against the Seahawks. Remember to include who you've got winning. Head down to the comments section and let me know your score predictions. Let's stick on offense, kind of a heavy theme here. That is Rico Dowdle against Malik Davis. A fascinating battle has emerged for the RB3 spot. The Cowboys really like Davis as a UDFA. We talked about him leading up to the draft because we knew that they liked him. They signed him coming out of Florida, where he didn't test like a great athlete. Didn't have great production. I was underwhelmed. He looks like a different player since getting in Dallas. More explosive, more dynamic, more reliable. Now, there was a missed rep on special teams, and I think that matters for Davis because that might be how the Cowboys decide what could very well end up being the 53rd spot on the roster, whether it's Davis, tight end, or a QB3 there. I like Rico Dowdle. I think overall, factoring in what he did previously, I give him the edge. But Davis has been more productive in the preseason. Both guys have run pretty well. I do think whoever you don't keep, you can get on the practice squad without that many concerns. But pick a running back for me. Type in MD for Malik Davis or type in RD for Rico Dowdle. Let me know who you would prefer to have behind Zeke and Pollard in the comments section. Finally, over to defense here at last. How about the young corners? Jordan Lewis may or may not be ready for week 1. Hoping that he is, but it's not quite set in stone on that front. As he nurses a hamstring injury. I think the Cowboys will carry at least 6 corners. In fact, I know they will. Will they carry 7? Will C.J. Goodwin be a part of that grouping either way? I'm not so sure, but the Cowboys have invested draft capital into Kelvin Joseph, 2nd round, Deshaun Wright, 3rd round, and Deron Bland, 6th round. 5th round for Deron Bland. And crazily enough, the 5th round pick in Deron Bland has outplayed Joseph and Wright, especially in the preseason. He's been the nickel corner. He got first team reps with Jordan Lewis out at one of the recent late night practices for the Dallas Cowboys at the Star. Deron Bland has outplayed Joseph and Wright. Both those guys, disappointments. Joseph not had a great camp. That's been a pretty big disappointment from that perspective. Deshaun Wright, meanwhile, has really struggled in the games. He's gotten cooked pretty much every time the ball. He's had 3 penalties, as well as getting beat almost every chance teams have thrown at him. He's been a huge disappointment. I need more from Wright. I need more from Joseph. And more of the same for Deron Bland. If Joseph and or Wright struggle again, I don't think either guy is 100% a roster lock. I think Joseph's mostly safe. Wright's on the bubble. He's had a good camp. Time for him to get his head around and make plays at the catch point. The exact reason why he drafted 6'4" corners to do that. He hasn't done it at all so far for the Dallas Cowboys. Before we go, one request for you. We're still going to do push-ups every single time the Cowboys commit a penalty. We had 8 penalties, so we did 1 and then 2 sets and 3, 4, all the way on up. Help bully the Cowboys in, though, to fewer flags. Spam flags for me in the comment section.